Hi, welcome to another episode of An Old Man and a Frying Pan. Today we are going to be making cabbage rolls, and I'm going to be using a recipe of my wife. She taught me how to make all this, and it was about, lost my wife in 2011, so thank you, Edith, for this, and I miss you dearly. Here are the ingredients we're going to use to make this. I have a cup of rice, 2 teaspoons of salt, about 1.25 teaspoons of pepper, 2 tablespoons of paprika, and a teaspoon of smoked paprika. I've got some butter, onions, which are going to be pureed, of course the cabbage. I've got cans of tomatoes, and I have beef, pork, and veal mix. And so let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is cook the rice. So I've rinsed the rice out, the cup of rice, and I'm going to put it into my rice maker. And I'm going to add an equal amount of water. Give it a bit of a stir around just to make sure it's all in and flat. And then I'm going to close the rice maker, turn it on. And this is a Tiger rice maker. I picked it up, and I've used it a few times now, and it does a good job cooking the rice. So we're going to keep an eye on it and let it cook for a bit. And I put just enough water in this to keep the rice al dente, not fully cooked. Either way, you want it to finish cooking inside the meat with the inside the cabbage rolls. While we're waiting for the rice to cook, I'm going to core the cabbage. To core the cabbage, I'm going to just cut out this portion right here and try and get it around it a bit so that the leaves are cut right at the stem so that they come off easier. I like to make like an X cut in the core, and then I can just go into it on an angle and pop it out. Just like that. Just keep doing that. So I've got the core cut out, so now it's time to put it in boiling water. I'm going to put it in for about 15 to 20 minutes. I'll keep checking on it just to see how it's doing. But this is a winter cabbage, and what I find with them is they're a little tougher than the spring cabbage, so they take a bit longer to soften up. You have to be very careful when you're putting cabbage into boiling water. I use a knife in the center a bit, and I use a big spoon to slowly lower it in. And I've only got the pot about half full of water, so that when you're doing that, you don't get an overflow and going all over your stove. Other than that, it's just time to sit and wait and let everything start to cook. I'm in the process of cutting up my onions and putting them into the food processor, and I'm going to mince them up pretty good. Okay, the onion's ready to mince. I'm going to check it. A couple pieces here. I'll take that out. Another quick mince. Very happy with that. It's well minced. The rice is finished cooking, so I transferred it over to a bowl with cold water in it to let it cool down, because you don't want to put the rice hot in with the meat. So now it's time to start mixing up everything into the bowl. And this is the bowl I've got for that. It's quite a large one. I like a large one when I'm doing the cabbage rolls. You got more room to mix everything up properly. I'm mixing in the salt, the paprika, and the pepper, and we'll put in the cold rice in a second. I'm letting the rice drain now for a bit before just sticking it in. You don't want to water it. The rice is drained quite a bit, and I've given the rice a good shake in the strainer. So in it goes. Now for the onions. The onions are in, and the best thing to do is to mix this all up by hand. Everything's well mixed. I'll do a close-up shot for you too. You can see the color is a little bit red, and that's from the paprika. It's got a fair amount of rice in there, not too much though, and of course it's got the salt and the pepper as well. I like this rice maker because it has a feature on it, a retractable cord. I've got about 15 leaves off the cabbage, so I'm going to show you one method of making the cabbage rolls. And this method my wife used a lot. So I'm going to take the part of the cabbage off here that's pretty tough. And then I'm going to put a spoonful of meat in here, like so. And just a little more, I think, than that. Like that. She used to take a tea towel and put it in her hand like this, and take the cabbage and stick it in, put it in her hand, fold it over, fold it over, fold it over, and then fold it over. And she used to take the tea towel and just go like this to it. And then unwind it. And there you go. You've got yourself a cabbage roll. It can go right there. But I like the old method. I like another method, so I'm going to use it. So here's the second one I'm going to do. I'm going to cut off that. The stem part's a little tough. I'm going to take a look at this piece here, and I'm just going to take a bit of that off so it's a little thinner. And you can see the leaf's got cuts in it and so on. It doesn't matter. Let's see how we do with it. We'll put in some meat, and then we'll begin rolling. And then I tuck it in, roll, and make sure it's tucked in pretty good. And then just straight like that. Now for the next one. Put a good chunk of the meat in there. And again, roll it, tuck. I'm gonna tuck, and roll, and in she goes. We're always the seam side down. Okay, I'm gonna continue rolling, and we'll talk to you in a few minutes. We'll see how many more we get out of this. So what I'm doing here is I've opened up a can of tomatoes and I've put them in the bowl and I've just squished them up with my hands, and I'm going to put them all over the cabbage rolls. Make sure it's well spread out. And I also put water in here, rinsing from the tomato can. The reason why I did that is you want to have lots of moisture in there because the rice is so al dente, cooked, so it's going to absorb a lot of that moisture. The last thing I like to do in this is I just put a bit of salt over top of it because the tomatoes need a bit of salt. And a little bit of black pepper. So it's got salt, black pepper over it. And the last step to this is simple. You take whatever cabbage leaves you got left and you put them over top like so. And you're gonna say, the reason why you're doing this is you don't want them to burn, because it will burn if you don't. It gets... Now I've used a portable tin foil pan here, which I'm going to cover with tin foil and pop into the oven. The reason why I've done this is because these cabbage rolls are destined for one of my sisters. She's going through a bit of a medical procedure, and I thought it'd be nice to give her some nice cabbage rolls for dinner, so she doesn't have to bother cooking. So these have got to go into the oven, 375. I put them in 375 for about 20 minutes to half an hour, and then I turn it down to about 350 and let it cook at least 2 hours, sometimes up to 3, depending on the cabbage and how tough it was. And this may take up to about 2.5, 3 hours to have ready. And I do like to cook them longer than shorter. Now, what's the beauty of all this is done. I'm going to add just a bit more water to it, and I'm going to tinfoil cover it, pop it in the oven, and I have some meat left over, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with that next. Tinfoil's not wide enough, so all I do is rip 2 pieces and just stick them together and just fold them over, like so. You pinch it together. And then I can tint it like so, quite easily. Give it a good squeeze under the lips so that not too much moisture escapes. And that's ready to go in the oven. A couple of yellow peppers here, and I'm going to make stuffed yellow peppers. So I'm just going to cut the tops off, clean them out inside, and stuff them. I like to take a spoon and just where the ribs are and just clean them out. And then you get it nice and clean. And here we go. Let's stuff the first one. Maybe a little more. There we go. So we're ready to put the top on that one. I've used a male pepper because it has 4 lumps on the bottom. The last part of doing the peppers is I have them sitting in a pot, and I'm going to spoon some tomato sauce right over top of them like this. Then I'm just going to put in the tomatoes. Nice mess I just made. A little bit of water to rinse the bowl. Actually, a little more than that, I think. There we go. And then salt and pepper. Again, salt, a little bit of pepper. Oh, there it is. Put on the big top, and that's going to go on the top of the stove for about an hour, hour and a half, until I feel the peppers are done to the way I like. I like them not too soft, but not hard either. Some people like them cooked for an hour, a little bit hard, and depends how you like it. That's another episode of An Old Man in a Frying Pan. I hope you enjoy the cabbage rolls. Also, be careful when you're using the knives and taking the cabbage in and out of the hot water. I use a big spoon like so, and also I have my knife in the center, so I'm lifting it out and making sure that I'm not splashing anywhere. You don't want to scald yourself. I also put on an apron when I'm doing this so that if any water does splash, it's going to get on the apron and I can get it off real quick just in case. But again, be careful, be safe. And again, I'll shout out to Edith here. It's her recipes, and I've always really enjoyed this. So have a good week, and hope you all have fun during the week. Enjoy your cooking.